Hello and welcome to Basketball Talk Pro. Sorry about that. My name is Ron Ecker. We're at the last segment of the sample lesson for measuring basketball performance, a statistical course specifically for basketball coaches. I'm very proud that Basketball Talk Pro is the organization that put together this course, because I don't think there's any course like it anyplace that I know of. And it's time that we have some method of training coaches in the area of statistical analysis and how it might help them with their team and their organization. It's a great new area for coaches. I wouldn't want you to miss it. So I feel good that we're the group, Basketball Talk Pro, our little group that started with, gosh, about 20 people, and most of them were friends at the beginning, and now we are talking to a lot of coaches throughout the country and really throughout the world. Well, this is, in this particular, well, in lecture 17, it just went by, we went through the charts. You should have learned there a lot of things. First of all, the effectiveness of NOP and POPs, which a lot of people have not ever really taken the time to learn. And that's the kind of information you got. But also you learned you have to do some work. Who does that work? Well, my suggestion is, and it's a very strong one, you do the work. That's how you learn. The best learning method, and we've talked about this before, is doing things, not listening to things, or not watching things, or looking at things. It's doing things, getting your hands dirty, so to speak. In February, we had Phil Jackson come on, and he gave about a 15 or 20-minute talk. And in that talk, he talked about their use of statistics with their teams when they won all those championships. He talked about Tex Winter putting together what we have worked on as OER-DER. But he said something that I hoped every one of you took heed to. He said Tex and I would watch the film. He watched the film and worked on those OERs and DERs. He put in the time. He understood what they meant and how to use them. You need to do the same thing. That may be one of the reasons they were such a good, those teams were so good during that time. Well, now we come to the last segment. And this segment will be study questions primarily. We end every lesson with study questions, 4 of them. And we ask the participants to send in those 4, and they get points based on how well they do on those study questions. And from that, they can establish their rating in doing statistical work of this nature, which they can use for their own gratification, but also they can use that on their resume, and they can also use it, talking to potential people that are potentially ready to hire. And at the end, the speaker will talk about the end of lesson 5 and going on to lesson 6. And I would just tell you that lesson 6 and 7 in my book are the 2 lessons that you will use the most. if you're a serious coach, those are the two lessons you will use the most. Not that the rest of the lessons aren't important. They are, because without those lessons, you wouldn't really know how to do lesson 6 and 7. So that's the next step after this. Now I want to take you to the film and show you the study questions and an explanation of them on the film, and the closing statements that will take you to the next lesson. Well, in this lesson 5, the questions are fairly clear, but I just want to go by them a little bit. In the first chart, what was the difference in the OER of positive possessions and negative possessions, POP and NOP? Should be fairly easy to spot because I actually colored them different. But here's the key. Now, multiply that difference times 70 possessions, assuming there's about 70 possessions in your game. I'm going from an average of the high school to the NBA. And that will be the number of points that this difference represents. It may surprise you, that difference, and how many points are involved. So do that exercise. It'll be good for you. What was the difference in the percent of uncontested shots in POP and NOP? Fairly easy question, is right on the chart. This one, though, is a little different. List 3 ways that you, as a coach, could increase the number of POPs for your team. You know what the difference can mean from question 1. Now, there are 3 ways, at least, that should be fairly apparent to you, that you could increase the number of POPs for your team. In other words, you could do something either through the type of offense or defense, or the type of instruction and technique. Not so much technique physically, but the technique of doing certain things. If you think it through, I think you'll find that that's 3 is easily done. Not easily done, but something you can do. Then I want you to write a summary of your reaction to POP and NOP. I think that's very, very important part of the game. If I were you, every time you get that box score at the end of the game, look to see the combination of defensive rebounds and steals compared to your opponent. And I believe you'll see, without even looking at the scoreboard, you know who would win that game. Then I have a little statement here at the end. I'm going to read it. In the next 3 lessons, you're entering the most important values of measuring basketball performance. Make sure that you have a good understanding of the material covered so far. It will be important in the next lessons. Keep up the good work. You are almost there. Remember this. Next season, when you sit down on that bench, look over at your colleague and know that you are more prepared than him because you took this course. And I want to make mention here too, we have a number of ladies that are in Basketball Talk Pro and are probably taking this course. When I use the word him and he, I apologize for that. But I guess when you've spent as long a time as in years as I have, and it's always been with men, it's easy to understand why I use those words. Well, that's it then, and now we're going on to some pretty exciting areas. Thank you. Well, those charts should verify for you a lot of the things that we've been talking about and give you a good orientation in forming those statistics and a chart that will help you. But we have another one also that you can get in, and we'll have all of those charts available so you can have them. And I would advise you to, when you start, to use our charts. They're proven, and you can branch off after you get very skilled at it. But you might make some mistakes if you that you don't have to make by following us for the time being. Now we have we're doing very nicely in getting to a position where you can really have some control over your team and practice and games by knowing facts, by having facts at your fingertips. The next one I think is one that'll everybody can use. We're going to talk about player evaluation, but I never lose track of the fact that all of these things we're talking about have to relate directly to the end game, which is basically the big picture is OER and DER, but those are dependent almost entirely on your field goal percentage. But players play a role in that. Not only if you're on which players to play, that's one of the things, which players to select, which players, if you're a college coach, to recruit, which players you should draft by, and knowing what of those numbers can best predict a player's effectiveness on your team, and knowing which players are really making the biggest contribution to your team's winning. It may not be your score. In fact, a lot of times it isn't. It's somebody that you probably don't even pay much attention to, who just goes out and does this work for you every day. So that's the next lesson, lesson number 6, and pretty important one. And we don't have a lot of charts, but we have a very important chart, and a chart that will open all of those questions to you about who plays, who's doing the most for your team. So that'll be lesson 6, and we'll be looking forward to that lesson also. Thank you. I want to mention at the end here, if you missed either one of the segments, or if a friend of yours missed them all, you can go to the archive. There's a little button up above it. That's the only way I know how to explain it. Click on that button. Every video we've done, and I think this was number 135 or 136, every one of them are in there, and it's a plethora of basketball information. You can spend a lot of time in there just going from one video to the next. So these will all be in there. They'll be by month, the month of August 2014. And so you can always come back to them and learn what a lesson is like. Now, we have 8 lessons in that course. All of them progress write a little harder as we go through. But I think you can see from the information in Lesson 5 that this isn't hard stuff. I mean, mathematically, you can all do it. So don't be concerned about that. It's not some scientist doing this. All this information, the methods that I'm showing you, it came from hard work on the floor. Myself and assistants, we just developed it by ourselves as we needed it. We were trying to win games with this. We weren't trying to impress people or write books. We were trying to win games with this information. And so the course is 8 lessons. Some of them have 3 breaks, partitions like we had, like we call them lectures. Some have 4, some will have 5. You can use those shorter periods as you want to. You do have to fill out, as I mentioned, you do have to do the study questions at the end and pass them on to me. I grade them and give you a score on points. And you'll have a total then of points at the end as you complete the course, which will put you in a certain element. Either you're in honors group 1, 2, or 3, 3 being the very best. Now, the questions themselves are not hard, but you'll have to do the work to be able to answer them. We had one coach that had a perfect paper, never missed one. Every lesson. And at the end, he wrote some really wonderful things about what he had learned and how he felt that he was looking forward to the season. And in his words, he said, I just think I have something now that none of the other coaches in our league have. So I'll also tell you, before we quit, how to sign up. It's very simple. You send an email to me and say, I want to sign up for the course, or maybe you have questions and I'll answer those questions. My email's on the email that you get, and so is my phone number. I will then send you a link, and that link will have the discount on it. You just click on that link and it will take you right to the registration page. The registration page is very simple, just name and email and that sort of thing. Once that's done, they will ask you to pay. You pay with credit card or PayPal, either one. That's the only way you can pay for these courses. Once you've done that and the amount has been approved, you can start right now and go right to the course and begin to work. I don't like you to skip ahead. I think you should do it course by course. Do the study questions at number 1 first, then second, and then third, because all of those study questions help you to develop background and support knowledge. Listen, this is a good moment for Basketball Talk Pro. I hope we get a lot of people that want to improve themselves, that want to build themselves up, because in the future I think coaches are going to have to be pretty knowledgeable. The people that own the teams or administer the teams, they understand that this kind of information is important to success. They're going to hire people that do it, and you want to be one of them. So that's it for today. We'll have another Basketball Talk Pro segments very soon, a couple days from now, and we'll keep going. We're trying to make coaching better, and I think we are. We'll see you next time.